Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into an epic mythological story full of divine fury and massive cosmic consequences. But look, we aren't just here to recount a fairy tale. We're going to completely decode this ancient myth to reveal its hidden, profound roadmap for human consciousness. Seriously, get ready, because the true meaning buried beneath this legend is absolutely mind-bending.
Right off the bat, you have to ask yourself, why would a supreme god behead his own son, only to replace his head with an elephant's? I mean, it's a bizarre, striking, and honestly kind of shocking image, right? When you first hear it, it just sounds like pure chaos. But stick with me, because by the end of this analysis, you're going to discover the deeply psychological answer behind all of it. It's actually a brilliant metaphor for our own inner lives.
So, picture this. Our story kicks off on Mount Kailash with what is basically a cosmic domestic dispute. Goddess Parvati is at home, getting ready for a bath. She wants absolute privacy, so she gives strict orders to Nandi, that's her husband Lord Shiva's loyal bull, to guard the door and let absolutely no one pass. No exceptions. She wants this boundary completely respected.
But here's where we hit a major conflict of loyalty. Nandi takes his post faithfully, but when Lord Shiva himself comes home, well, Nandi steps aside, because at the end of the day, his primary loyalty is to Shiva. As you can imagine, Parvati is furious at this. Realizing she doesn't really have anyone fiercely loyal just to her, she scrapes turmeric paste off her own skin, breathes life into it, and creates a boy, Ganesha. And she declares him to be her own, exclusively loyal son.
Okay, talk about a rapid escalation. The next time Parvati bathes, she puts her new son Ganesha on guard duty. When Shiva comes back, he is completely stunned to find this strange boy blocking him from entering his own house. Shiva orders his mighty army to remove the kid, but they fail completely. Ganesha's power, which comes straight from the goddess, is just way too much for them. Finally, the usually peaceful Shiva decides to intervene personally. In a massive bout of divine fury, he strikes, severing Ganesha's head.
The fallout from this is terrifying. When Parvati finds out her son has been killed, her reaction isn't just normal grief. It's absolute, unbridled rage. She literally threatens to destroy the entire creation. She is so heartbroken and insulted that she's ready to just unmake the very fabric of the universe right then and there. It's the ultimate mother's wrath, threatening to end everything that exists.
Enter Brahma, the creator. He steps in, trying to do some serious damage control and negotiate a peace treaty to save the cosmos from Parvati's anger. He pleads with her to cool down. Eventually, she agrees to spare the universe, but she has two non-negotiable conditions. First, her son Ganesha has to be brought back to life immediately. And second, he must forever be worshipped before all other gods in any ritual or prayer, period.
So Shiva, having cooled off and realizing he made a huge mistake, agrees to the terms. He sends Brahma out with very specific instructions. Bring back the head of the first creature you find lying with its head facing north. While Brahma comes back with the head of a powerful elephant. Shiva takes it, places it onto the boy's body, breathes new life into him, and fully embraces Ganesha as his own son, elevating him to be the absolute foremost among the gods.
All right, hold on, because here is where our explainer takes a massive pivot. This wild story of beheadings and animal parts, it is not just a fairy tale, it's actually a deeply veiled, highly mystical map of the human spiritual journey. Let's pull out the decoder ring and really unpack the secret meaning hidden beneath the surface of this myth. What is it actually trying to tell us?
To really get this, we have to map these ancient characters directly to our own inner psychology. Here's how it breaks down. Parvati represents supreme energy. Nandi is the divine temperament. Shiva is the supreme teacher, or the guru. And Ganesha, he represents the ego-bound jiva, basically our earth-bound individual soul. Keep this key in mind because it changes everything about how we view the story.
Let's start with Parvati. She represents Parashakti, the supreme energy. Inside the human body, this energy is known as Kundalini, and it sits right at the base of the spine, in the Muladhara chakra. When she's preparing for a bath, it symbolizes the purification of our own inner energy. And here's the cool part. When we purify ourselves of those binding impurities, the Supreme Lord automatically shows up. That's exactly why Shiva arrives unannounced. He's drawn directly to that purity.
And then we have Nandi. He represents the divine temperament. Think of Nandi as the deeply devoted spiritual seeker. His mind is so intensely focused on the divine that he instantly recognizes the Lord the very second he arrives at the door. For us, this means we have to cultivate that exact attitude of devotion and focus before we can access the highest spiritual treasures. We have to be ready to recognize the truth when it's standing right in front of us.
Now you might be wondering, why did Parvati use turmeric paste of all things to make Ganesha? Well, it's definitely not a random detail. Yellow is the color closely associated with the Muladhara chakra, that foundational energy center we were just talking about. Since Ganesha is the deity guarding this exact chakra, his physical origin from yellow turmeric is a perfect visual metaphor for our foundational spiritual energy. Every single detail in this myth has a precise psychological purpose.
So at this initial stage, Ganesha represents our raw, earthbound awareness. He acts as a shield. You see, the Divine Mother needed to create this earthbound awareness to protect those ultimate divine secrets from unripe, unready minds. The deeper secret is only revealed when our awareness turns away from worldly distractions and points toward the divine, exactly like Nandi did. Until that happens, our earthbound ego just stands at the door blocking the way.
This completely changes the meaning of that standoff at the door. It wasn't just a stubborn kid fighting an angry dad. It represents the ultimate internal battle, our ego versus the guru. Shiva is the supreme teacher, and Ganesha is our ego-bound soul, clouded by illusion. Because of our own stubborn ego, we literally fail to recognize the supreme teacher when he arrives. We end up actively fighting the very force that's trying to liberate us.
And that brings us to the necessity of ego death. Why couldn't Shiva's armies move the boy? Because the human ego is incredibly powerful and deeply, deeply entrenched. Gentle instructions usually don't cut it. It requires a much tougher approach. The compassionate guru has to step in with devastating force, which is represented by that brutal beheading, to completely shatter and destroy our limiting ego. Sometimes, true spiritual awakening requires a really heavy hand.
When that ego is finally severed, we witness the disappearance of the physical world. Remember how Parvati threatened to destroy creation? Well, the physical, ever-changing world is represented by Devi, while the unchanging absolute soul is Shiva. When our ego dies, the external world, which relies entirely on our ego to even seem real, just disappears right along with it. We lose our attachment to our temporary physical body and begin to merge into the supreme.
But the journey doesn't just end with us being headless. Shiva replaces that small, human head with a massive elephant head. This represents an unbelievable upgrade to a big universal ego. The Supreme Lord takes away our tiny, limited individual identity and swaps it out for a massive universal consciousness. We aren't identifying with our small self, our petty desires, or our little fears anymore. Instead, we identify with the entire boundless cosmos.
Now, you're probably thinking, doesn't having a big ego make us arrogant? Actually, no, not at all. It acts as a functional tether. Just like how Krishna and Buddha maintained a functional ego after reaching enlightenment, this universal consciousness is like a thin string that ties the liberated soul back to our world. It exists purely for the benefit of others, allowing that renewed life to serve all of creation with infinite compassion and wisdom.
Plus, there's this whole other layer. Shiva makes Ganesha the lord of the Ganas. But what are the Ganas? They are literally the absolute entirety of creation. All classes of beings and forces. We're talking everything from the tiniest insects to massive celestial forces, storms, earthquakes, and even the intricate mechanics of our own bodily organs. The Ganas govern how the absolute universe functions.
And this holds a really powerful, practical truth for us. If we don't honor the forces of the universe, these Ganas, our actions are basically like thievery. They're unsanctioned. But by honoring Ganesha, their supreme leader, we engage in sanctioned action. Instead of burning ourselves out trying to appease every single individual force in the world, we just align with the source. Through that grace, our potential obstacles are removed and our earthly efforts miraculously turn into success.
So let's just trace this epic map to awakening one more time. First, we purify our inner energy. Next, the Lord arrives in our lives completely unannounced. Then, the Guru steps in to fiercely cut away our stubborn ego. And finally, our consciousness gets this profound upgrade, allowing us to merge seamlessly with the universal whole. It is literally a masterclass in spiritual transformation, brilliantly hidden inside a vibrant ancient legend.
The true beauty of this ancient myth is that it isn't just history. It's playing out right now inside us. So the question I want to leave you with today is this.
Are you still stubbornly guarding the door with your small ego, or are you finally ready to let the guru in and merge with the universal self? Take some time to reflect on this cosmic map hidden right inside your own mind. Thanks so much for exploring this explainer with me, and keep seeking the truth.